Hey there, neighbors. This is Jesse Bryant, and I've just been thinking a little bit lately. Now that the Republican convention's all wrapped up, a whole lot of noise went down over that, and I never really talked about it. I've been a little bit upset about it myself. I think most people are, actually. Even the people who act like they're not upset by it, I think they're upset by it. I don't think anybody ever wanted to get Mitt Romney out of this whole thing. Nobody in the beginning wanted Mitt Romney, really. I'm pretty sure that most of the people that voted for him were basically voting, by prompt of the television. So anyway, they didn't even want Dr. Paul to speak. They didn't even want Ron Paul to have, his last final goodbye, his last hurrah. Didn't even want to let him talk. Not only that, but they didn't even want to count his votes. They didn't want to let it be heard how many votes he got or how many delegates he had. Even though they knew that, Mitt Romney had already won and there wasn't really much of a contest, that they had the majority and that they had won, still they didn't want to mention Dr. Paul. They just wanted to do whatever they could to get away, to not give any kind of credit or any kind of recognition to Dr. Paul. And of course, that's typical Republican behavior, I guess, to just be totally shameless and spiteful towards everyone around you for the stupidest of reasons. So this is really embarrassing for the Republican Party, actually, and I'm predicting that their party's going to die after this election cycle. It's going to be over for them. Nobody's going to want to be associated with Republicans after this. I mean, really, I talked about this in my video about Governor Johnson and his work ethic, but a similar point needs to be made about Dr. Paul. Dr. Paul is for 77 years now. 77 years this man has been working all his life. He went to college on his own money. He paid for it as he went through, worked his way through. He was drafted. He was called up for service during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he went into the Air Force. He had to leave his wife and his 2 children behind. Then he gets out of the military and he becomes a doctor, and he delivers 4,000 babies, brings 4,000 new lives into the world. It was his hands that worked that. I mean, I can't even imagine that. But over his career, thousands of children are alive now because of Dr. Paul. I mean, how many other presidents, how many other people do we know of, really? But how many other public figures can say that? And then he studies economics, too, and he gets involved in politics and brings all of this information, all this knowledge that Milton Friedman and F.A. Hayek and Ludwig von Mises and others, he basically brought all that to the mainstream. I mean, Milton Friedman, he did some shows and everything. He was a fairly famous guy. But Ron Paul is really the one who championed all of this. And in return, this disrespect that he gets from the Republican Party, and especially the Republican Party leaders, yeah, that's shameful. Anybody who's a lifelong Republican, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of your party. And I wouldn't have anything to do with them anymore. The ranks of the unaffiliated keep growing and growing, and I predict that there's going to be a huge spike after this election, because either way, if they get Mitt Romney or not, it doesn't really matter. People are going to be so disgusted with the man, because what has he done in life? Aside from, be governor once and then get booted right after it because nobody wanted him, and his own state didn't even vote for him during this nomination process. So I should tell you what he's all about. And then he makes a living, more than a living, more like a killing. He makes a killing as a venture capitalist, and that qualifies him as a successful American businessman, and so people want him to be in charge of the economy. Yeah, he was a vulture capitalist, folks. He made all that money by looting other companies. He bought them out, then he stripped them for all their assets, sold those off, and then moved on. Shut them down, basically. That's how he made his money. So that's what you want him to do to the American economy, strip it bare and shut it down? Because I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. He was instrumental through Bain Capital in helping to bring the American economy to its knees and to drive out our production base. So you can thank him for that. And if you want to look it up, just get on YouTube. You'll find about a half-hour-long documentary about how he made his millions. What he didn't inherit, that is. You know, it's really just embarrassing all around that these are the quality of people that we're going to actually put in charge of the whole nation, of our future. We're going to entrust it to these men. Fools can be kings, as that song by Muse said. It's just shocking, really. I don't know what I'm going to say to kids younger than me. And I usually tell people not to apologize to me. They need to be apologizing to all the kids who helped me out on my campaign, all the other young people, because you basically stole their future. That's what we've done by allowing this to happen. Well, felt good to vent for a little while, neighbors, but I think I'm going to get moving on something else. I just wanted to let you know that the behavior of everyone at the Republican convention, or at least everybody in the establishment and most of the people attending the Republican convention, that was absolutely embarrassing. The way they were trying to shut the Ron Paul followers up, and the way they were trying to block them from view and make sure that nobody could see them there, and the way they wouldn't read off his votes, that was absolutely embarrassing. And I'm glad I'm a libertarian now. I'm glad I'm not a member of the Republican Party, honestly. I mean, parties have never mattered to me, really, because I've always known that's just a bunch of hogwash. It doesn't matter what party anybody joins. If you're not looking at that man and what he's done, then you're just kidding yourself, and you're setting yourself up to get kicked off your feet. So think about that, folks. Think about that real hard. It's a similar situation to what we're facing right now with my campaign. I'm running, on a basically budget of little to no funds whatsoever. Basically using my money to go around door to door and talk to people. And I'm facing a guy who's been a lawyer for years, made all of his money, and now thinks that he's going to be in politics and be a senator because, he's got the training to write laws. No ethical training, I would argue, but he's got, the professional training to write laws that are going to bind you and all of us to whatever conditions he thinks are reasonable. Has he ever read Herbert Spencer's book? Has he ever read The Law by Frederick Bastiat? Has he ever read The Proper Role of Law Enforcement by Sheriff Mack? If you haven't read those three books at least, folks, and if you don't have a working knowledge of the Constitution, then there's no reason in the world why you should be in charge of the American political system at any level. That's all there is to it. So, moving on, I'm still in the race, and I'm not going to give up quite as easily. I might not be able to do much right now, but I'm going to continue to spread the word. I'm not trying to run for office because I think that I'm qualified to control people. I'm trying to run for office because I know that nobody is qualified to control people or run their lives. That's not the way it works. You want somebody to lead you and to take care of all your problems for you, and you're going to be a slave to that person. They're going to take over your life. That's just the way it always works. All right. You guys stay safe, and God bless you, neighbors. I'm out.